On the one side tonight, these two gentlemen who I have with me on the Newshour tonight have been on two sides of this debate. First is the chairman of the Press Council of India, former Supreme Court Judge, Justice Markanday Katju. He's making his first appearance on the Newshour tonight. Justice Katju, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Newshour this evening. And taking on Justice Markanday Katju on our first Newshour debate is Mahesh Jethmalani, who, if I may say so, has sent a stinging point-by-point rebuttal over the weekend of the arguments that were put forward by Justice Markanday Katju in his letter to the Governor of Maharashtra. Mahesh Jethmalani, I thank you as well for coming on this one-on-one debate. Gentlemen, with your permission, let's begin point by point. On the first point, Justice Katju, you say in your letter to the Governor of Maharashtra that the power of pardon under Article 161 of the Constitution is different from judicial power. The Governor can grant pardon or reduce the sentence of the court even if a minimum is prescribed. Mahesh Jethmalani responds to what you say by saying, Justice Katju, that the executive power of a state government does not extend to matters in the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India. Arms and ammunition is in the 7th schedule, and hence he questions your argument. May I have your response to him, please, Justice Katju?
Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani is totally wrong. The power which the governor exercises is a constitutional power, not just an ordinary executive power. Because Article 161 is in the Constitution. And Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, being a lawyer, should be knowing that the constitutional provision cannot be controlled by ordinary statute. So therefore, the restriction in the Arms Act that you cannot give below 5 years sentence does not apply to the pardon power. It applies only to the judicial power. So therefore, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani is absolutely incorrect.
Mr. Jethmalani, would you like to respond to Justice Katju, please?
Yes, I mean, the point is, Justice Katju has not read Article 162, obviously. Article 162 says that the power of pardon of the governor under Article 161 is coterminous with the executive power of the state. And Article 162 defines what is the executive power of the state. The executive power of the state being limited by matters which the state legislature alone is allowed to legislate on. If a particular subject is in the union list under the 7th schedule of the Constitution, i.e., it is a matter which can be legislated upon exclusively by the union government, then the state government and by parity of reasoning, the governor cannot grant a pardon on those matters. Now, as far as the union list is concerned, entry 5 of that list talks about arms, firearms, ammunition, and explosives. Those are all exclusively within the perspective, within the jurisdiction.
No, we are on a point of law.
Legislative powers of the Union of India.
Gentlemen, between a very
only on the Union.
No. My question is, you are on a very fundamental. On a fundamental point, you are questioning Justice Katju, and you are saying to him that Justice Katju,
which is why I said that.
Yeah, go on.
Which is why I said that Justice Katju's entire letter has been dashed off in unseemly haste because it is in ignorance of the constitutional provision. Contrary to what Justice Katju is saying right now, I am not saying that the constitutional power of pardon under 161 of the governor can be curtailed by any statutory power. It is curtailed by 162 itself. It is prescribed by 162 and the union list.
Well, Mr. Jethmalani, I will get one response from Justice Katju, then we'll get on. Justice Katju, Mahesh Jethmalani says today the very basis of your letter is erroneous, and he is describing your letter as hastily put across. He says governor cannot grant pardon to Sanjay Dutt under the Arms Act. I'd like you to respond to that.
Mahesh, 1 minute. Therefore, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani does not deny that there is power of pardon, if not in the governor, then with the president. I think he will concede. Supposing, let us for a moment assume that it is not the governor.
Yes.
All right, therefore the power of pardon is there. 1 minute, let's not go into technicalities. If the power of pardon is there, then all right, tomorrow I'll send a letter to the president if that pleases Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani. If that satisfies Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, tomorrow I'll send another letter to the President of India. So that is not the point. The point is whether pardon should be granted in this case.
We're not here, please, we are not here to please one another. We are here to debate the provisions of law and whether a particular individual it applies to, and whether the action which you have taken is consonant with law. That's what we are debating about. There are only two issues. All right, let's go back to the presidential pardon now, and let's see what your argument is for granting him a pardon.
May I?
Without going through the entire record in the case.
May I, gentlemen, with your permission, between a very prominent lawyer, Mahesh Jethmalani, and the esteemed Justice Markandeya Kachhu, may I come in with the second point? Justice Kachhu, you say in your letter that Sanjay Dutt committed a lesser offence, and you say lesser offence than murder, and you say when the governor of Maharashtra granted pardon to Nanavati, surely he can grant pardon to Sanjay. The counter argument to that, Justice Kachhu, is this is not just any illegal pistol that Sanjay Dutt acquired. They are deadly arms procured from hardened criminals and terrorists like Abu Salem, who are responsible for the 1993 blasts. And Sanjay Dutt himself confessed to having obtained the weapons as only due to the shoddy investigation that it could not be established that the arms in Sanjay's possession were those smuggled in for the blast. So, are you trying to play it down, underplay Sanjay Dutt's role, Justice Kachhu?
First of all, this statement of yours that shoddy investigation and all, it is all meaningless. Once the Supreme Court judgment has come that Sanjay Dutt was not involved in the bomb blast, then you are, Arnab Goswami is a Supreme Court. Above the Supreme Court, he says, oh no, he was involved, but it was because of shoddy investigation. What kind of statement are you making? Are you challenging the Supreme Court verdict? In which case, you should go and apply for review before the You have to accept the Supreme Court verdict that he is not involved in the bomb blast. Yes, the Supreme Court said he had in his possession prohibited weapon and therefore he must be sentenced for 5 years imprisonment. To that extent, the judicial verdict is correct. We are now not on the judicial side, we are on the constitutional pardoning provision.
Yes, we are.
See, in the constitutional pardoning provision, there is scope for humanitarian considerations. He has not been found to be a terrorist. Now, humanitarian considerations are, he has already, it is not that he is getting away scot-free if he is pardoned. He can't get away scot-free because he has served 18 months jail.
Allow me, Justice Kachhu. Allow me, Justice Kachhu, one point that I was making to you is a limited point. First point I made to you was that this was not any illegal pistol that he acquired. You know, Justice Kachhu, that these are deadly arms procured from hardened terrorists like Abu Salem, and Sanjay Dutt has admitted he met Anis Ibrahim while he confessed, although he later retracted the confession. He has confessed all this.
Listen, this is true. He was found in possession of an automatic rifle, not an ordinary gun.
Yes.
This is correct, and therefore this is a more serious offence than being in possession of an ordinary gun. And for this is known as a prohibited weapon, an automatic rifle, for which the minimum sentence is 5 years. This is true, and the Supreme Court judgment therefore is the correct judgment.
So then
I am not questioning the Supreme Court judgment.
No, you
I
are
am now. Let me complete. I am on the. I'm on the question of whether he should be granted pardon or not.
Yes.
See, for pardon, the considerations are different from the judicial considerations.
I'd like to question.
Pardon proceedings are not judicial proceedings. Now, he has already suffered, 18 months in jail. Then for 5-6 years, it took him to restore his career because he was ostracized, he was socially boycotted by society. No producer would approach him.
No, Justice Kachhu, I want to question you point by point on some of those issues, if you permit. Because on your first point, because many people are saying today that, okay, let me actually get in Mahesh Jethmalani. Many people are saying today, and Justice Kachhu, that why is Justice Kachhu's heart melting for Sanjay Dutt?
You should ask me that question.
No, I will ask
me that question. It's my heart, not Mahesh Jethmalani's heart.
Justice Kachhu, I will not just ask you.
My heart, you see, my heart is my heart, not Mahesh Jethmalani's heart, which is melting.
No, I first want to ask.
See, I'll tell you, it is not. All right, he knows more about my heart. So you ask him.
I'm not in the least. I'd be worried. My question here is actually this. By the way, Justice Kachhu, I'm going to get an award for being the first television anchor who's made you smile. And I know, and so you must give me an award after the show. My question is, Mahesh Jethmalani, do you feel that Justice Markandeya Katju is being unnecessarily sympathetic to Sanjay Dutt? You know his arguments. He suffered, he's been in jail, he has a family, etc., etc. I want your counter, please, before I go back to you.
Let me tell you, Justice Katju, it's his, you know, he is an extremely compassionate man. He's been a very liberal judge on the bench. So this is not, it is not out of character for Justice Katju. You know, we all have the greatest respect for him when he was on the bench and even thereafter. But the point of the matter is, one thing he must ponder about, and you know, far be it from me to pose questions to so eminent a gentleman. The one thing he must ponder about is, isn't he picking and choosing? Aren't there, when you have so many people convicted in the case, even the fact that you may know all about one person and your heart may bleed for him, don't you think it behoves a judge, an ex-judge even, to actually look at the circumstances of everybody else and see that by doing this, aren't you causing heartburn to those others and their family members who may be better placed than him?
That's true.
Why not make this a compendious exercise on his part and look at everybody's case and say, look, for instance, I know this case from close quarters, Judge, and one thing I can tell you, there's a much more deserving candidate whom I would support you for in any pardon. An old lady called Zebur Nisa.
That's right.
Got these arms without knowing why she got them. She got them for 3 days, and she was almost like a transit keeper of these arms. She's 70 years old today. Why don't you look at the whole case, examine it carefully, and then perhaps you would first pitch your case for others more deserving of mercy.
That's a direct question. Let him answer that. Let him answer that. Justice Katju, this is interesting. You say in your letter that, and I'm quoting your letter, you say a cloud is hovering over his head throughout, referring to Sanjay Dutt. Tell Mahesh Jethmalani and tell all Newshour viewers tonight, is Sanjay Dutt the only person who has had a cloud hovering over his head? Haven't people with similar offences other than Sanjay Dutt been convicted under TADA? Is it not true that Sebunisa Kazi, who is now 70 years old, her house was simply being used as a transit point to keep the arms which were meant for Sanjay Dutt?